Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the queue for episode 3. As always, I'm Peyton,
Peter,
and
welcome to the Tired Podcast.
yes, it is the late tired podcast, even though it's only 11:26 p.m.
We're
Um,
always tired.
yeah, we're always tired. It's tiring work doing a weekly podcast. Ha 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 ha. Just kidding. But for today's movies, our headliner is The Mole Agent. I know, super interesting and not a blockbuster like our last two. We watched that because we're going through all the Oscar nominations, which we should have an episode on the Oscars, hopefully a few days after. Um, but as well, the other films we watched were not Oscar related. We actually watched Memento by Christopher Nolan, Moonrise Kingdom by Wes Anderson, and Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. So I think a pretty good lineup, a very different lineup, but I think it's the first lineup that I've liked literally every movie that we watched. I gave everything a 4 star and above. No fives,
Yeah.
no fives, but 4 stars and
hmm
above. All right, so let's start with Mole Agent. For those who don't know, Mole Agent is a documentary from, I think, Spain, and it's by a Chilean filmmaker, though, and it is currently nominated for Best Documentary. Um, and what it's about is really interesting. Um, I know it was really funny, Peter, because you didn't believe it was a documentary at the beginning, which is totally
I was
normal.
like, I was like, no fucking way.
Yeah, it was
No
it was
way.
shot like a narrative. Definitely
It
from
was just such an intrusive way to shoot a documentary. I was like, this can't be.
yeah, it was really strange and makes a lot of sense considering the subject matter, which is about a daughter hires a private detective to investigate a nursing home that she believes may have been forwarding abuse against her. I can't remember if it was her grandmother or her mother. I think it was her mother. And so the private detective hires this 83-year-old named Sergio to go undercover and pretend like he's just another normal resident at the retirement home. And it's just kind of about him investigating what's going on with the person's mother. And he becomes really close with a bunch of the retirement home residents. And really, my major takeaway from the movie was retirement homes are where we drop off people we don't want to see anymore, that we don't want to deal with, because a lot of these people are just completely abandoned in these retirement homes. That even this one, which didn't have like horrible conditions, it just felt like they were very isolated, especially socially and uh, from familial connections. Like there was that one woman that you pointed out was there for 25 years,
Yeah,
which I wouldn't want to be in a retirement home
insane.
that long.
That is absurd.
But yeah, I really liked this documentary. I was not expecting to like it going in. I was expecting it to think it was very like subpar, which most of the documentaries for me in the documentary category have been, with the exception of this and Collective. I've not really liked any of the other ones that have been nominated, but this one I liked. Um,
Yeah, this is I think this is my second favorite in the category.
yeah, it's it's definitely my second favorite as well. I like Collective
hmm
more just because I think Collective's topic is more interesting to me.
Yeah,
But
for
this one,
sure.
from a filmmaking standpoint, is definitely better, I think.
hmm
Um, I would be happy if either wins, but it's not very likely, unfortunately.
Yeah, time. I mean, all three of the ones that we don't want to win are in a good situation where
Yeah,
time has a more relevant topic. Crip Camp has the Obama endorsement. Um, and My Octopus Teacher. I mean, besides just being shot really well, there's already an award-winning documentary about a man's relationship with with a sea creature. So
Yeah. And
I don't know.
it's a very personal documentary, and those tend to get a lot of favor from the Academy, except for what
Yeah.
got snubbed. Dick Johnson is Dead, which
Mhm.
even though I didn't like it as much as you, I'm still very upset about it because I would have much rathered it than Crip Camp or Time
Yep.
or My Octopus Teacher, which I did not like any of them.
I would have been thrilled if one of my three favorites got on, but no. I think all of them made it to the short list, but no further.
Yeah,
And you were upset because Boy State, which was also on the short list, did not
yeah,
make it as well.
another great documentary that came in 20
Yeah,
out of 2020.
that's one that I also would have been happy with.
But you know, speaking about Mole Agent specifically, I am very glad that it does have a nomination, though. It definitely
Yeah,
deserves the nomination.
I think
Um,
it is one of the better documentaries I've seen this year.
yeah, and it's unfortunate that it is a foreign documentary because like the even though with 2019 Parasite winning Best Picture, that was a big step for foreign films. The Academy is still giving the cold shoulder to foreign films, and it really sucks because I think besides this, uh, Collective, The Life Ahead, and Another Round, I think those were the only foreign films to get more than one nomination. And
Well, I
and
think
one of
that
those being outside of
people
best feature foreign film, that is.
I think that people forget that it is a requirement for the film to be in a not just a US theater, uh, like a Los Angeles theater or something like that
Yeah,
for 2 weeks,
which
which is
is
crazy.
it's such a stupid requirement too.
Um, yeah, it's really bizarre and really uninclusive.
Mhm.
I mean, I think the best course of action would obviously be taking that away. That would also open up the Academy Awards to more independent films.
Yeah, it would certainly make.
Like there would be more to sort through, and I understand how that is unbelievably frustrating. If you can just come up with a list of films that were shown, that is, obviously much easier, but I think you need to have some representation as the Oscars have become so important.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, this is how they think or know of a film as great and
Yeah,
truly like
people with no
influential.
context think the Oscars are like the highest honor you can receive. That this sort of labels your film as like high art.
Yeah, but
So like whatever gets like best documentary, like that is the best documentary.
to the average viewer, and you
Yeah.
know I am at least glad that we got two foreign documentaries nominated because I think at least that will put them on the radar. I mean,
Hmm.
these Mole Agents on Hulu, and it definitely would not be on Hulu if it didn't get nominated.
Yeah, that's actually a trend that carried over from last year as well.
Yeah,
There were a few foreign docs, and the streaming services did step up
yeah,
to claim them. I think since I think in the last 5 years, streaming services have played a really key role uh in award shows,
yeah.
getting the films featured.
It's definitely made films that normally wouldn't blow up or get much attention
Mm.
be able to do so. I mean,
Yeah.
100% for Parasite. I mean, that's the. I feel. I don't want to say the only reason because it's a really good film and I love it. But
It's why people who didn't care about it at all
yeah,
ended up watching it. You know, one Best Picture, all of a sudden it's on Hulu or whatever.
hmm
Like, yeah, people are gonna watch it.
yeah, and it's really, I guess, what Mole Agent really is partly representing is a positive trend towards more inclusion of foreign films, which is really important.
Mhm.
And and I'm really glad it's this, because like I wouldn't want more foreign film inclusion for the sake of foreign film inclusion. I'm glad it's quality stuff for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, I think it really says something that the two documentaries that we actually liked in the category were both foreign films.
hmm
Um, but yeah, more specifically on Mole Agent. So we're not just talking about the Oscars and kind of what the movie represents. I gotta say, it being so short really works in the film's advantage a lot, in my opinion. I think um, it really tells its story, and it focuses on the story the whole time, and it really avoids basically everything, every major thing that I usually don't like a documentary for, like, talking heads that just go on and drone and drone. Which this is definitely not a documentary where that happens, obviously, considering the subject matter. But like if they randomly inserted some, psychologist or some expert in uh, senior care, I would have
Yeah,
definitely hated
it was
this.
definitely something that was focused,
hmm
and it wasted no time getting to its point.
Yeah, and its cinematography, as we mentioned, it's so it fits this so well,
Yeah,
because it is like an investigation, and it is, as you said, very intrusive cinematography. It's so much
yeah.
so it was hard for you to believe that it was even a real documentary. You thought it was a mockumentary, and I had to look it up and say, no, this is a real documentary.
Yeah, there's just like I don't know, there's like so much thought put into like the shot composition
Yeah,
and like where they're going to be sitting.
which is
But like I don't think the subjects were obviously thinking about that, so it's just bizarre.
yeah, it's such an abnormal documentary. You rarely get to see documentaries that do such a thing.
It just really played out like a narrative, and it was great.
Yeah, and when documentaries do that, they tend to be the best. Um, like just thinking about my favorite documentaries this year, all of them, they don't do as intrusive cinematography, but all of them kind of present a narrative rather than having talking heads talk about whatever
Oh yeah.
is going on. And I think what a lot of people forget, and if Crip Camp or Time or Octopus Teacher wins, the Octopus Teacher is more of telling a narrative. It's just not a very interesting narrative. But if those win, it kind of highlights a problem I have with a lot of people when they go into documentaries. They just are like, oh, I like the message, I agree with the message, so I'm going to give it a high rating. And they don't consider the filmmaking at all,
Yep.
which is the problem with Crip Camp. Crip Camp is literally talking heads the entire movie, just played over, footage and interviews of the subjects. There's no
Yeah.
telling a narrative, and it's really all the message. Same with time. Same with time, except for time in a slightly different way, where the talking head is the subject, but the subject is not very interesting or an engaging person, even though it has a really good message to the movie. You know, and it's really disappointing
Mm.
to see that we're continuing to think of documentaries in this way and not really considering the filmmaking when that's an important part to what makes a great documentary.
Yeah.
You know, but
There's just this very set idea of what a documentary is supposed to be.
I'm glad that we have some documentaries that are kind of, you know, smashing these expectations and kind of creating a new
Yeah.
perspective for people. And I am hoping so hard for Sunday, come Sunday, that Mole Agent or Collective wins because they both do these things. But I just I'm not gonna get my hopes too high,
Hmm.
you know. And it's really unfortunate because there's so many great documentaries that did that this year, and only two of them are getting recognized, and they're probably going to lose to documentaries that continue the same old status quo for documentaries, and it's really kind of upsetting. But, you know, I fully recommend Mole Agent. I thought it was great, and I definitely think you should take the time to go see it on Hulu. Um, I don't have much more to say on it. I don't know if you have any final
Nah,
thoughts.
I'm done.
Yeah, I think we've exhausted um our thoughts on Mole Agent. There isn't with documentaries. It's kind of harder to talk in length about them without just talking about the context surrounding it. But so moving on to our next film, we watched Memento by Christopher Nolan,
Oh.
which this is a film I went
Oh.
into wanting to hate, somewhat similar to Death Proof because I just don't like Nolan all that much because he's got this status as a film bro director, and you know people kind of make his stuff more than out more than it really is. But I gotta say, I was surprised. I liked it. It started off slow for me, but it gradually got better, which I thought was funny, since that was the opposite for you, even though you liked it as well. Because you started out really liking it in the beginning and gradually just lost interest, if I'm correct.
I didn't lose interest, but
Maybe that's the wrong word, but
I think I was just intrigued more at first,
mm-hmm.
and I don't know. It kind of overstayed its welcome. It was pretty gimmicky.
Yeah, I have to agree. This is a movie that rides on its gimmick, like big time.
Yeah,
But I think its gimmick, really
it's
starts
used
to
well.
yeah, it's used well, and I really like that. So we'll go into spoilers territory since this is one of those ones that you can't really do anything but what without talking about spoilers. But the main character has short-term memory loss, so he can't make new memories. He constantly wakes up or just randomly just forgets all the memories in the past, few hours or so, and only remembers what happened before his accident that caused him to have short-term memory loss. And basically, he's trying to find out who killed his wife, and so he's constantly forgetting, but he has to like tattoo or write on pictures different details he's figured out. And this works really well for, characterizing the other characters, cuz Nolan gets to build up these characters in a certain image for the audience and then completely like deconstructs them in a way. It's not the most impressive I've seen of that, but it's definitely I definitely enjoyed it. Um, I think the best character that's used for is the female character who like straight up starts off as like, oh, she's an ally and a love interest, but there's a we get because the film is in reverse order time. It starts us from the end of the story and ends up at the beginning of it, which I thought was also somewhat interesting, but really just gimmicky. But
Mm.
yeah, she starts out as like a love interest who's an ally helping him solve the murder of his wife. And then, we find out that she is really just using him and that, she doesn't think highly of him and she's exploiting him for her own ends. Um and I really found that like interesting how he keeps building up the characters one way, and then because of the gimmick, he can just completely change them in a way that's it was interesting to me at least. I don't know about you, how you feel about it.
No, that's pretty much how I feel.
Yeah. This one's kind of a weird one where we liked it, but talking about it, there's not a lot of substance. As I said before, a big reason I don't like Nolan is because a lot of people make him out to be this very substantive and deep director, mostly like film bros. But really, there's just not a whole lot to it. It's just usually pretty entertaining. Um, like The Dark Knight, for example, uh, which is on the Letterboxd top 250, and it's really high up there. I don't think that's super deep, but a lot of people do. And to me, it's really just entertaining performances and entertaining action. And then this is like, again, another film that tries to be deep, and people say is deep, but really it's just a somewhat interesting mystery thriller that has some interesting gimmicks that
Yeah.
for most people I think would probably wear off after a while. For me, it only got better because I didn't initially like the gimmick, but then I liked how it was used. If you start out liking the gimmick, I think most people will have the same opinion as you, where it just kind of gets overused and tired out by the end,
Hmm.
which I can totally see.
I don't know. I mean, I just thought it was really suspenseful and funny a lot of the time, so it was pretty entertaining.
Oh yeah, it's
Performances were good. It was just a well-made movie, but there's not, like you said, anything to it. There's not a ton you can talk about.
mm-hmm.
For the structure, because the structure is obviously crazy. It was not necessarily unconventional.
Yeah, it's
It was only in the narrative structure. Everything else was pretty by the books.
mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's not particularly special. It's not particularly deep. It just does what it does really well. That's where all the enjoyment comes out of it, which is really I think says a lot about Nolan's filmography, especially since I think this is considered his masterpiece, um, or at least his better movie by
I
most
think
people.
it's up there in terms of rating. It's up there with well, obviously Dark Knight, but Dark Knight, Inception, and Interstellar have the same or similar rating.
Yeah, and well, I think The Dark Knight is his highest
Dark
rated,
Knight is his highest.
but I think among like non-popular audiences, like film bro
Oh,
audiences who
yeah.
really like Nolan.
Well, I think most most cinephiles that don't have like that blind love for Nolan, they would consider this his best movie,
Yeah, yeah,
which
100%.
I think I'd almost agree with. I'm still an Inception fan, so
Yeah, this I
that's
mean,
gonna stay my favorite, but it's close, I guess.
yeah, I mean this is definitely my favorite Nolan
Hmm.
because I don't like Inception. I think Dark Knight is okay. Um and I think the rest of what I've seen from him ranges from okay to bad. Um yeah, I mean but besides this, The Dark Knight is my probably my other favorite by him, which I think says a lot about his filmography in general, at least for me. Because really, he is just really good at the technical aspect of filmmaking, but his films just don't do a whole lot in the terms of themes or messaging or really anything outside of the technical aspects and then, an engaging narrative. So
Yeah, it's fair.
yeah, this is definitely one where we don't have a lot to say. I would
Mm-hmm.
recommend it. I would definitely recommend it. As I said at the beginning,
On watch.
I liked all of these movies, but this is the only one I think on the list where on a rewatch I would like it less. Would you agree with that? I don't feel like it's a very
Yeah,
rewatchable movie. Yeah, because it really does rely on like twists and not knowing
I
anything
think
about the plot.
I think there's a chance I would like everything else more.
Yeah, maybe. But so I think that's all we have to say on that. So we'll move on to Moonrise Kingdom, which was my second favorite of all of these. I really liked Moonrise Kingdom. I like Wes Anderson a lot, and I'm finding that out more and more. Even though I haven't gotten a 5 star from him, I'm really loving his stuff right now. I'm really liking it.
Yeah.
Like
No
this,
surprise.
yeah. I mean, I feel like it shouldn't be a surprise for anyone that he makes good films. I mean, he is amongst those who are considered, the best American filmmakers right now, which is definitely true. He's got, an aesthetic and a style that is just really entertaining and beautiful to watch. And I think this is a really good example of it. Um, for me, Moonrise Kingdom is like I don't even know how to put my thoughts into words exactly, other than I was engaged the entire time, and I thought it was really beautiful.
Mm.
It it it's
It's really interesting how it's written both for adults and kids.
yeah,
That's one of the most intelligent aspects of the screenwriting.
yeah. There's definitely like messages that come out for both kids and adults, and it's definitely a
It tackles such simple subjects too
yeah.
that it can be like an introduction to some ideas for children, and then maybe just like a more basic
I,
presentation
I
of
also
ideas for further thought from adults.
yeah. I also think that like it it handles it in a somewhat complex way, like these simple topics. It 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 definitely does interesting things with them that I didn't think could be done with such, very basic uh, themes and messages.
Hmm.
Like I really loved it, and it's definitely a great character-driven movie. As always, he gets an ensemble cast, and the cast is just great. Even the child actors were great in this. I didn't mention that when I had first watched it, which I don't know how I didn't mention it because I loved the child acting in this. I was very
Yeah,
surprised by it. I definitely did not expect
I
it at
was
all.
I was shocked to see Lucas Hedges, who did a great job.
Yeah. Which Lucas Hedges, he's the guy from Lady Bird, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that definitely a surprise to see him do well. Especially since he's like the least favorite part of any movie I've seen him in,
Wow.
except for here. He's definitely not my
Wow.
least favorite. I wouldn't say he's my favorite, but yeah, sorry, he's the least.
Bro, you don't like him as an actor?
No, I do not. I will have to
That's
admit I don't like him as an actor.
whatever.
I'm sorry, man. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay. I won't get into it.
It's okay. But yeah, he what else can I really put onto the subject of like the acting? Because I really got to give it to the acting. It even got more out of actors that I don't expect much in the terms of emotional weight and emotional acting, like Bruce Willis. Bruce
I was
Willis,
gonna say he had a really he had a much more tender performance than I was expecting from him.
Yeah, because when I see Bruce Willis on screen, I expect like tough, gruff guy who doesn't
Yeah,
emote a
something
lot.
gritty.
Yeah, of like gritty. But his performance was just not that. It was very tender. It was very heartwarming. I
Yeah.
liked it a lot. Everyone here was just so great, and they did so much better than I was expecting for some of them. Um,
Hmm.
and something else, this was, even though I think he did great, and I love Bill Murray a lot. He was probably like one of the weaker performances, which I think says a lot for me, and says a lot for the acting of the film. If
Oh
Bill
yeah.
Murray is one of your weaker ones,
Yeah, I hate to say it, but he in a Wes Anderson, he was not one of the people that stood out.
yeah, he didn't really stand out, but his performance was still really great. Frances McDormand was also pretty good, but I think she was underused as well.
Yeah.
Um, which is fine. It's not a discredit to the film. It's more of just like the these actors were kind of outshined, and to be honest, their role in the story it makes sense. But I think it just shows that the acting was really great. Especially, I didn't even think about it, but Frances McDormand is nominated for Best Actress this year, so I think
Hmm.
that really says how great this was in terms of acting. But something Wes Anderson is always great at: color usage, cinematography. Oh, the landscape of the island is just so bright and vibrant, and I love it. It make
Yeah.
it makes
Nothing
me
new there.
yeah, it makes me somebody who is like a very indoors person just want to go outside because it just looks so pretty.
Mm.
I I really I can't say it's not standard of him, but I just
All those warm colors, bro.
yeah.
He's trying to make you go outside.
He's really trying to make me get off my fat ass and go outside and exercise. He
Don't
really wants me
succumb.
to. Yeah, it was
This
yeah. I
is
thought it was
the-
weird, when he showed up on screen and started yelling my name to go outside. But but this is definitely like my second favorite Wes Anderson. Like I know it wasn't as big for you in that department. I know you.
Yeah, this is probably my top five.
Yeah, it's well, his filmography is very small, so that's not saying a whole lot. He's definitely one of the people who are like, or another example of a person who's like very acclaimed director who doesn't have a large filmography. But yeah, I almost like it as much as Mr. Fantastic Mr. Fox, almost. But that it's my favorite, so I can't
Mm.
I can't I can't let it beat that, even though it's up there. It's up there, especially like um in the color usage, as I mentioned. It's very vibrant and full of energy. Full of energy. It was a really great movie for us to watch late at night. It
Yeah,
was very engaging, and I couldn't see myself going to sleep during that.
for sure.
Mm,
Like I
but
was getting sleepy during Memento,
yeah, I was even getting a little tired during Memento.
but dude, not during Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah, Moonrise Kingdom really knew how to engage me.
Hmm.
So, but I don't think I have much more to say on it, which is unfortunate. I will
Yeah, I
say,
mean it's just Wes Anderson, man. Like
yeah, it's a Wes Anderson moment, you know.
if you've seen one, you get it.
Yeah, but if you like Wes Anderson, this is a must see.
Yeah,
Even if you don't like
definitely
Wes
one of his
Anderson
better.
though, I would still say see it because it's really, really great. I could see people who don't even like Wes Anderson's style liking this, just because of the energy and the performances put into the film. You know, but I don't really have any other thoughts. Um, so in a shorter episode than normal, but I think we'll have a lot more to say about the next film because Psycho by Hitchcock, a movie that everyone has seen but not actually seen.
Very true.
Yeah, like you knew everything that was gonna happen basically beat for beat, and you hadn't seen this because
Yeah.
you did a fucking assignment for class, and
Hmm.
uh, I knew the twist that it was gonna be like a murderer and that the shower scene was gonna happen and the main girl was gonna die. But like, I'm actually really glad and surprised I did not know the ending of this movie.
Yeah, what the hell,
Yeah,
dude?
I after seeing it and talking to a few people, I was like, how the hell did I not know the ending to this movie? But it really hit hard for me. The
Yeah,
ending.
I was asking my mom that when I was in the car with her later. I was like, "Hey, this is like a really known twist, right? Like I'm not being ridiculous. Like it's weird that he doesn't know about it."
Yeah, but I'm very glad, and I'm gonna slightly rant about this a bit because I should have known it by all means because of cultural osmosis, and cultural osmosis is very great at just ruining movies for people. Um, but luckily, I think this movie can surpass that, where it surpasses moments being ruined by cultural osmosis. The beginning is super subversive and it feels like a standard Hitchcock movie. Even though I've only seen one Hitchcock before, so don't take my opinion too seriously on that. I think you could probably say it better since you've seen two, but still, it feels very like from what I know about Hitchcock and Hitchcock movies, feels very standard Hitchcock, drama thriller at the beginning. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
And
seen three, by the way.
oh well, three
So
including
shut
this.
up. Yeah.
So that was
Yeah,
my point.
whatever.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, yeah, buddy. But this, down to the way it was shot, the way it was scored, everything just makes you feel standard thriller drama. The plot is basically she stole money from her insurance company, right? That she works for, which is like,
I don't remember I don't remember what specifically her employer was, but it, yeah, she was supposed to take an envelope to the bank,
yeah,
cash it, normal for businesses to do, and she keeps it. It's
yeah.
yeah.
And then she ends up at the Bates Motel, um, and that is where the iconic shower scene happens. The scene
Hmm.
everybody and their mom knows because it's been repeated on every TV show, every
Although,
movie's made homages to it.
yeah.
It's something everybody knows.
But
Um,
before we get to that though, I want to stress how important it is to talk about what happens in between her initially running away for like over 15 minutes,
yeah,
which is just the unbroken tension.
yeah. It's. I'm glad you brought that up because that really works towards the subversiveness of the first half,
Yeah.
where
And it almost it doesn't just make the first half boring too. It makes it feel like there's somewhere to go,
yeah.
which makes the twist, more deserving when tension has been built but in a much different sort of way.
Mhm. Well, and it's like, if you're an audience who does not know anything about this, like let's say you somehow avoided the cultural osmosis,
Hmm.
You know, you seeing so much time being spent to developing this thoroughly and developing
Oh yeah,
characters we never see again. You
it was
know,
like a half hour,
yeah, and
even
and
longer.
then the twist happens. That's like an extremely shocking thing. It was even shocking to me because I didn't know how much time was going to be spent, you know, developing these
Yeah.
characters. It was shocking in a different way than what was intended, but I think it still worked towards my enjoyment of the film.
Hmm. That's definitely something he was going for.
Yeah.
Was that no one had really played with expectations like that before.
Mhm.
I mean, it's 1960. He's been making movies like this for almost 3 decades, and
Yeah, people had a
he
perception.
knows, yeah, and he knows what people are expecting from him. So he makes this movie,
Mhm.
playing with what he'd been doing for decades, and
Yeah.
people aren't ready for it. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I can see why people weren't ready. um
Something I really like from that sequence where she's driving around with the money is the super ominous cop. He's so
oh, yeah.
terrified. The way he like leans over with his sunglasses on when he first stops her. I don't know why, but that was so intimidating.
Yeah, it was very
Holy
strangely
shit,
intimidating.
man.
Um
I don't know.
God, yeah. I mean that another thing to mention is the performances. The performances were really good.
Hmm.
I was very I shouldn't say surprised because Hitchcock's very good at directing his actors. You know, he's a very competent director. He does a really good job. I mean, both films I've seen from him are a 4.5 out of 5, you know. Um so
Yeah, I mean he famously kind of looks down on directors,
yeah.
thinking they're. I mean, did I say directors? I meant to say actors.
Yeah,
I don't know what
actors.
I. He looks down on actors, thinking they're kind of just like tools for directors to use.
Yeah. Which
So
you talked
yeah, I
about.
don't think he gives them a lot of space to breathe,
Mhm.
which which might be why you like the acting so much. It is very precise and serves its purpose. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily the most expressive,
Yeah.
but
Well, I got to
it doesn't
say
seem very personal. But
Norman Bates, I found that to be very expressive. Not personal, but I did very much enjoy his performance.
yeah,
And I thought it was very expressive, which, with the twist at the end of the movie, it just makes it so much better.
I think that's an example of Hitchcock directing him well, but he also just had a really good idea of what to do anyway.
Yeah, he was
That
very
just seems so
focused.
natural. I mean,
And
I'm not sure I can chalk that up to all just good directing.
oh yeah, 100%. And you know, it was a very chilling ending.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready for it. You were ready for it, so
Yeah.
I don't know how you felt, and I'm sure you didn't have the same experience in any way.
I knew the ending before I knew anything about the movie.
Yeah,
So sadly,
yeah,
I've known that for probably over a decade.
whew, yeah,
Yeah.
I only knew about the shower scene. That's like it, and that it's like a Hitchcock movie that's considered an essential watch, which it definitely is an essential watch. Like, could not recommend it more to people, especially if you're looking to get into older cinema. It's definitely a very accessible film, I would
Oh
say.
yeah.
Very, very, very accessible. Um, which I think is pretty true of most of Hitchcock's movies from what I've seen and heard.
Yeah, I think so.
He's a very accessible director, especially
I
if,
mean, he was like the mainstream director back in his prime, so
yeah,
his movies were meant to be extremely accessible.
which is great. I'm very happy for that.
Yeah.
But I can praise him till the sun comes down. But this movie was really really great. I think if I didn't know anything, I think if both of us didn't know anything, this would definitely be like a 5, which is so unfortunate
Maybe
because
that's possible.
I think it would have hit so much harder. Like I envy the people who got to see this in the theater not knowing a thing about it. I envy them.
Yeah, it's hard to speculate what the experience would have been like, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
Who knows?
honestly, I want to track someone down who watched it in the theaters and still remembers it. I mean, it would definitely be very difficult, but if I
Yeah.
can find somebody like that, I want to know how they felt. That would be amazing. That would be an amazing opportunity. But yeah, this is a great example of why cultural osmosis is the worst thing to happen to cinema. I'm exaggerating, but it definitely harms experiences for movie watching, and I hate it so much. I hate
Hmm.
that I get making homages to movies you like and paying your respects, but sometimes when you do it with a movie like this, that is so reliant on its twist for an experience, a certain experience it's trying to craft, it's just harmful to everyone else who didn't have the fortune to see it without that knowledge, who didn't get to have the experience that the filmmaker was trying to craft. And this is true of so many popular movies that and movies I like a lot. I mean, my favorite movie of all time, Empire Strikes Back, has its twist ruined for it. But I was lucky enough to see it without knowing the twist because I was like 4 years old, you know. But my experience is not. It would not have been the same if I knew. I don't. I think I wouldn't even have loved it as much if I knew what I knew about the film now. And I think that's true for a lot of these films that get ruined by cultural osmosis. I don't know. Do you have any
Well
particular
said.
thoughts on cultural osmosis?
Not really.
Yeah, I'm.
I'm pretty good at avoiding anything I can.
Yeah,
Just by being a
it's definitely easier with smaller films. Um, but with things like this, I feel like it's pretty impossible to avoid at the very least the shower scene.
hmm
Um, the ending, I guess, not so much since you know, um, I'm the only one who didn't know it beforehand, and apparently it's like a huge thing that everybody knows. I have no idea how I avoided it. I think I just must have been so lucky. Or I saw it like homages to it, and I just didn't put two and two together because maybe they were subtle enough or something. Who knows? That will forever be a mystery. Um, but yeah, I don't think we have much more to say on Psycho. I definitely
Nah, and I'm about to pass out honestly on it. I need to go. I need to go.
oof
I gotta cut it here. I want to die.
oof.
Just wrap it up.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. We know it was a shorter episode. We didn't have a whole lot to say. It's just we
I
watched a
just
lot
want to
of good
sleep.
stuff. We just watched a lot of
And
good
I
stuff,
and
and
I want to sleep. I'm going.
he's going to sleep. He's gonna
I'm
fall asleep.
going.
So I'm gonna finish the
Goodbye.
intro or the outro while little baby goes to sleep. Um,
Yeah, whatever.
yeah. So I definitely recommend all of these. They're all great. Psycho's definitely my favorite, with Mole Agent being my least favorite, which we did it in order of how we liked it. I think you're the same. You feel the same.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. Well, that's been the queue. I appreciate everybody for watching. One last little announcement is that we are on Spotify now. So if you prefer listening to podcasts on Spotify, check out our Spotify link. It'll be in the description for the video. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called The Queue. And we hope to have another episode out next week for the Oscars, and we'll try to see you there. All right, have a wonderful, wonderful experience. And good night, Peter.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, good night, baby boy.